Hi, everybody. It's Tuesday, October 28th, 2025, and figured I would just pop in here and say hi real quick. Currently at my other job here at Long Beach City College, and class ended about 25 minutes ago, and I've just been kind of chilling here and answering emails and trying to figure stuff out. But for those who have been following along with my social media exploits, today, Tuesday, October 28th, is officially 60 days after my initial layoff from USC, which was on August 28th. So, with that being said, that means that today, officially, I have been terminated from the University of Southern California and I'm no longer an employee. So, pretty much, it's been a very long 2 months. And even though the chop actually did happen in August, you still have these lingering effects of just dealing with everything else that comes with what happens during a layoff. And you know, it's challenging. It definitely is. And I will say that when it comes to doing anything with layoffs, and I know that there are people probably who would be watching this, having been through this before. I mean, this isn't the first time that I've been laid off or dismissed from a position for whatever reason, and this one just, as I've mentioned, just especially hurts a little bit more, mainly because my employer just happened to be my alma mater as well, and all of the emotional ties and senses of loyalty that came with it. And I think that's the part that really stings the most about the whole layoff business is that, when you get to a point where you end up finding a job that just works so well for you and it just becomes such a part of your world, and I've been very fortunate that the entire three and a half, just a little over 3.5 years that I've worked at USC, I never was in a place where I ever had to complain about the work I did. It's probably one of the first times in my professional career that I didn't complain about the work I did. And that was a really huge privilege. I think that if you are in a place where you don't have to do that and you actually look forward to waking up and saying, I'm going to work on this stuff today, it just feels good. And, that was what was given to me. And as I like to say, in summary about like what happened on August 27th, the day before I was officially laid off, was that everything was fine until it wasn't. And I think that's the part that I wanted to get across too, is that some people ask, well, were there any like signs that something was going to happen? And I said, no. Literally, I remember my last act of work. It was in the afternoon. It was about 5 p.m. on the 26th. And one of my coworkers had asked me to finish a part of a job. It was like a configuration of some sort, and I had just completed it. And then the day after that, which was the 27th, I got a calendar notice basically telling me that on the 28th I would have to come to campus bringing all of my equipment. And that's when I knew that things were not looking pretty good. So when I say that everything was fine until it wasn't, I wasn't kidding. Everything was fine until it wasn't. I mean, to the point where if you were to pull my HR file, it's clean, but it was the chop. I spent some time last night because on the 27th, I I actually went on a downloading spree and saved all of my papers and everything because I knew that my laptop was going to get taken away, and I was going to lose access to all of my cloud stuff. So I did that on the 27th, going into the 28th. But yesterday on October 27th, after I spent some time out and about, I went through the papers that were outlining my termination and just realizing like how cold and calculated this whole thing was, and how it had absolutely nothing to do with my skill or anything that I did, in terms of conduct, or there was nothing written against me. I mean, you name it, it was a chop. And I thought about that and I went, you know, as much as that still makes me feel better that it wasn't my fault, at the same time, you still ask yourself, like, um, why did it have to be me? Why did it have to be me and one other person out of a group of 6 people? You know, I spent some time yesterday. I had a email I drafted up to send to my remaining four colleagues and my boss, as a farewell, because today is the day. And I had to send it through my personal email because my school email had already been shut down because like they think I'm going to do something to them. And you know, it's getting better day to day to where I can phrase things in such a way that it doesn't sound like it's as traumatic as it actually was. But it's gonna hurt for a while. It still stings even after 2 months. And you know, if you've been following too, is that I did post an announcement. I am looking for work. I know that this is a really horrible time. I know that there's a lot of people that are also looking for work. I mean, hell, our economy is basically in 2009 mode, and it will not surprise me one bit if I'm going to have to go back to working odd ass jobs that are below my IQ and pay grade, but I need them to keep a roof over my head. As of right now, I do have severance that's going to kick in, and with USC, they only give you 1 week of severance for every year you've served. And since they round up to, well, I was at 3.5, 3.6 actually, they rounded up to 4, so I only get an additional month of severance. And then after that, I lose all my health insurance completely, and then Cobra kicks in, which I'm going to refuse. And then I need to think about other ways that I'll be able to get health coverage and things like that. So it's a lovely time. These are situations that I don't want to navigate, but here we are. And I will also say too that, you know, I mean, I'm not in a point now where where I need SNAP or something like that. I'm not at that. I haven't reached that level of desperation yet. And for the record, I have used SNAP before when the pandemic hit, and then I was laid off. Well, pretty much unable to work my job at Hawthorne School District due to the pandemic. This is not the first time that I have utilized SNAP benefits. I know that unemployment is an option for me as well, but as you know, unemployment doesn't pay jack. So we're kind of in this weird situation where it's like, okay, well, I've had all of these options, but obviously they're not anywhere as enough to make things whole, and I have to continue to apply to jobs now. I've been spending a lot of time doing that since August. So I've got a lot of rejections out of the way, so I don't have to worry about that. Just have to keep looking, and it's very difficult when you're trying to apply to like other positions that are close to what you did at university, but alas, who are making the cuts? The universities, so that doesn't help anything. You're trying to get back into slim pickings where a lot of places are trying to reorganize, and so the offerings that they're trying to hand you are either lower paying or absolute garbage, and you don't know what to do after that. So, yeah, I just wanted to pop in and say hi. I used to do these live broadcasts, during my lunch breaks when I was working at this one charter school in South LA where everything was miserable, and this was how I was able to vent. Uh, but I figure I would chime in and check in. I hope everyone is okay. I hope that the cloud of layoffs passes over you. I hope that this never falls upon you. This is freaking awful. And frankly, there's a lot of what ifs and things that I have to continuously reassess day to day, while I'm also trying to ensure that I don't drown in a whole sea of existential dread. So there's a whole thing of that. I am seeking mental health at this time. I do have some left for as long as I'm still at. I still have the USC program, which I found out that USC is potentially eliminating that resource starting January 1st. So I may be one of the last people to take advantage of mental health. I mean, it's not like, people who get, you know, their lives turned upside down because of somebody else's decisions. They need this. I say that sarcastically, of course, you know, but I will easily say that, you've seen how I feel about, the current state of the universe right now. And this is the first time in my career that I can literally point fingers at the person responsible for all of this. And I'm not trying to deflect here, but it is true, because when you make decisions that alter the Department of Education, and you choose to create policies that are only meant to exclude and to exacerbate the lack of equality that we do have in our education system to begin with, for whatever freaking reason you have. These domino effects will happen, and then you combine those with deficits that are already within the institutions that are being affected by this, and it's all just this entire cloud of just disaster. I don't think in my life I ever thought that something like this would be this severe, but here we are. Not much I can do as a lowly staffer, or now ex-staffer, and we can only hope that the bleeding stops. I think as of right now, and this is before the next report to the Department of Labor, but at the time that I was offed, layoffs were only in the mid 300s, and as of October 1st, layoffs had shot up to 713 or something like that, and it's only going up. I am pretty sure that layoffs will probably be in the 800s to 900s by the time we get a final cap um, of a final report. In addition to that, too, I think part of the thing that's been disappointing is the amount of sexually related crimes that have come out of the university since the layoffs occurred, and how these people that are being accused of such crimes get to keep their jobs. And the last thing I've checked, because I kind of need to like not SA anybody in order to have a clean record to be able to work with students and stuff like that, is that apparently if you SA people, you can get a promotion. I I mean, I understand that there have been a lot of ways that people have, created their own avenues of upward mobility when it comes to, work, like sleeping with people and SA and foot pics and all that stuff. But I just don't seem to be like the kind of person who would do that, and maybe that's why. I wake up sometimes, and I do this from time to time in my career, but there are times where I wake up and I go, did I really choose the right profession? Here I am, just kind of like, it's a bit on the destitute side. I mean, I sit here and I'm like, I just taught a class and I felt good about it. But then I realized that the good feelings usually end when I see the paycheck. So I don't know. I don't know. It's not, it's definitely not where I'd want that to, I want to go with that. I mean, obviously, I am in the United States, and educators here do not get paid what they're worth, and I'm aware of that. But at the same time, though, the more that I question the disparity that I have witnessed my entire career as an educator, the more I wonder how anyone is able to live decently with these limitations. So, I mean, there's a lot of discussions that I have to think about, but how am I treating today? I am choosing to treat it like any other day. You know, when I got laid off back in August, the morning I got laid off, I jumped back on my motorcycle and I rode straight to Long Beach City and taught a class. Obviously, completely traumatized, but it's what I had to do. What am I doing today with the final day of my technical employment? I'm teaching a class. So certain things just I'm not changing, you know. But the emotions are still there. I will continue to update everyone on how I'm doing. I am looking at some part-time stuff. There's probably a chance that I may be returning to driving for rideshare again. Really didn't want to do that, but it is what it is. I actually found out statistically that I make more money as an Uber driver than I do hourly as a substitute teacher for a Catholic school. That tells you a lot about the state of things. I mean, granted, teaching anything at a Catholic school, you get paid like garbage, but apparently you're supposed to do it for God or some shit. I don't even know. Anyway, with that said, I will continue to fight the good fight. If you have any leads, keep them coming. I did bounce on a couple of the leads that were given to me yesterday, so that was really cool. It was much appreciated. I will say though that if the lead doesn't apply to me, I might know someone. So I don't mind tossing it in their direction. So, sharing is caring. That's what I do. If I can't use it, maybe somebody else will. Um, I'm really, well, I think some of my biggest concerns about all this going on is the possibility of having to leave this region of California again. I really didn't want to even like think of the possibility of leaving my area, possibly leaving the state again. This is a really bad time to be leaving California for any reason because of what's going on out there. And also because we're going into the winter time, and I'm really over snow. There's a reason why I left that. I look back at the clock and I realize that away from I have been back in California for 11 years. And in those 11 years, there's been a lot that I've done for myself that should justify me staying put, especially with the fact that this is home to me and I refuse to leave. But the situations at hand do make things pretty scary, and so I'm not really sure what's going to happen. All I can do is my best, and continue to just let people know that these things are happening. You know, um, just don't hide it. It only adds to the anxiety anyway. So yeah, with that said, just waiting for a call to see if my car's done. It was in for repairs, and they're waiting for a part, so hopefully that got installed and I can actually pick it up. As much as I like being on my bike, it's kind of hard to take hockey equipment to, practice um, because I don't have a trailer anymore. Well, so yeah, if you have questions or you know anybody who is popping in with some job opportunities that might have some, you know, a little bit of higher pay than part time entry level, which is pretty much the only thing that's out right now. Just remember that our overall economy is absolute garbage right now. So I am not surprised. I mean, I'm probably fighting against everyone and their mother for like the single cashier position in Whole Foods, which I did get rejected from already. So I'm pretty sure that it's yeah, it's very unfortunate. So yeah, that's all I got from here. I think I'll call it a day. And if you are joining me for dinner tonight at Shinsengumi Shabu Shabu in Gardena, we will be starting about 7:30. I do have a few people that are going to be getting off work a little later than normal, so I pushed it to 7:30. So if you still want to join in, please meet us over there. And if you want the link for that, I'll throw it in the comments, I guess, for this video. And as always, take care of yourself. Be kind. You know, we have many of us have a lot of struggles that we don't talk about. I'm choosing to talk about this one um, because I think that we all have probably dealt with something in this sense of loss, sense of betrayal, that kind of thing in some way, shape, or form. So, um, yeah, be good out there, and I'll talk to y'all soon.